we have completed the topic of flood runoff and how to estimate runoff using various methods. Some of the empirical methods were informed to you equations which were good for certain basins, for certain watersheds, including equation of English, Khosla, Lacey, and then we went to a little bit more physical based methods which can take into account the type of the basin, land cover, soil type, condition of the moisture in the basin, in the watershed. And that method was SCS curve number method, Soil Conservation Service curve number method, which relates the direct runoff Q with the precipitation and with the initial abstraction I and the maximum storage in the watershed or maximum abstraction in the watershed, S. And S was a function of curve number, and the curve number was function of watershed characteristics, and the initial abstraction was said to be a function of total maximum abstraction in the watershed or maximum storage possible in the watershed. So that was a quick review, and another method was also introduced to you. That was the rational method, Q is equal to CIA. Then we started hydrographs. Different components of hydrographs were informed. Definition of hydrograph was informed. Factors affecting the hydrographs were informed. In this part, if you have any questions, you are welcome. So these were covered last time. That is a quick review for what we have done. So anybody will tell me a definition of the time of concentration? Up till now, 14 students are with me. So Hamza Niaz, can you switch on your mic, unmute your mic? Hamza Niaz. So can you quickly tell me time of concentration, definition of the time? Okay, the time required by the raindrop or water to reach from the farthest point or farthest part of the watershed to reach to the outlet, to reach to the place where we are measuring the flows. So that is correctly you stated. Thank you very much, Hamza. So that's important with respect to selection of the design storm because rainfall occurs for different duration. Rainfall can occur for 1 minute and it can occur for several days. So we say this is a storm duration, this is the rainfall duration. So which rainfall we should select for design purpose? It depends upon the time of concentration. If we select, and another thing, rainstorm, maximum rate of the rainstorm, maximum intensity of the rainstorm reduces with the increase of duration of the storm. So that is the second concept. So these two things combined together force us that we should select the storm having the same concentration, having the same duration as equal to the time of concentration of that watershed. If I select smaller than time of concentration, storm duration smaller than the time of concentration, although the rate of rainfall will be higher, but the whole catchment will not be contributing at the outlet, and the storm have already finished. So we will not be getting the peak flow, hopefully. And similarly, if I select a larger storm, larger duration storm, for example, time of concentration is 6 hours, I have selected 24-hour storm. So then its maximum rate of intensity will be not equal to or more than the time of storm of 6 hours duration. Smaller the storm, more intensity of the rainfall has been seen. So these two things say that we should select storm duration, which is consistent with the time of concentration of that catchment. And we should select a few durations higher than that or smaller than that, so that we can get the maximum possible flow close to the at the outlet at the point of our interest. So if you have any questions, you are welcome. Otherwise, I go ahead. I have to complete courses. Some of the important definitions which you have gone through in the theory in the lab part also. Just a revision. Storm duration I have talked. So in this figure, one is hydrograph is shown, and at the top a hydrograph is shown, or rain duration and the rain quantity has been shown. Okay, so this blue rectangular is showing that the rain has occurred for a duration of TR, and here TR is designated as storm duration. Storm mean rainfall. Don't consider, we will say storm to rainfall when it is more than this. Normally over here we say storm is equivalent to tufan, and tufan is not a normal rainfall. But in hydrology, a storm or a rainfall are the similar thing. For flood estimation, the rainfall which we are using, we say this is a storm. The storm has a duration. It may occur for a different time period. So let us say total duration of the storm is TR. And it is not necessary that the hydrograph generated by this storm of TR duration is also of TR duration. Hydrograph usually is not equal to the storm duration. Most of the time it is longer. So the hydrograph it has generated, the direct runoff hydrograph it has generated, although the base flow will continue if the storm is there or not, base flow continues. So the direct runoff hydrograph which it has generated above the B point flow is called direct runoff. So that is the hydrograph duration, direct runoff hydrograph duration from B up to E. So that duration is called as a base time. So that is the total duration of the direct runoff. Direct runoff is a contribution of the rainfall which is reaching to the outlet or the channel, which is reaching to the channel over the surface or through the interflow. So that is the quick response of the watershed. Base flow is that water which reaches to the channel through the groundwater, through the subsurface water, groundwater part of the subsurface. So time lag is the time difference between the center of the storm duration, center of the storm mass, or center of the storm duration to the center of the hydrograph. So it is not the peak. Usually the center of the hydrograph is somewhere else and the peak is somewhere else if it is not normally distributed. If the hydrograph is not normal, it is not smooth, it is not perfect bell-shaped, then its center will be somewhere else and the peak will be a little bit deviated. But if it is well bell-shaped curve, then both can come. Peak time and the center of the mass can be same. But to make it general, so X is a point where is the center of the direct runoff hydrograph. Means if we divide the volume of this direct runoff hydrograph, half will be on the left, half will be on the right. So lag time is the time difference between center of the storm and the and the storm also. It will not be something like this constant intensity. So it will be having, for example, for 1 hour it can have 2 millimeter rainfall, for another hour it can have 10 millimeter. We can have a hydrograph over here. So we are talking about the center of the mass of the hydrograph, center of the mass of the hydrograph. It may not be at the exact center of the TR. So these are some of the definitions which will be being used in the later part of this lecture. So lag time or basin lag, difference in time between center of the mass of effective rainfall. So keep in mind, so it is not necessarily the center of the TR. It is the center of mass of the effective rainfall and the center of mass of the runoff produced. It may be at the center of the TR if rain intensity is constant, if the rain intensity is uniform. Okay, so time interval from the maximum effective rainfall to peak rate of the rainfall. So that is what we have defined it. time interval from the maximum effective rainfall. So most of the time we take it equal to this because finding these two centers are difficult. So approximately it is equal to peak of the effective rainfall, time duration between peak of the effective rainfall to the peak of the hydrograph. So that is our approximation. That is easy path, but proper definition is at the top lines. Time of concentration, already we discussed. The concentration time is the time required with uniform rain for 100% of a tract of land, mean piece of land, tract of the land, piece of the land, or watershed to contribute to the direct runoff at the outlet. So similar definition we have already studied. The time for the runoff to arrive at the outlet from the most remote point. Similar message we have conveyed to you already. So hydrograph we need to separate for different purposes. One is to know how much is the direct runoff. One is to know how much is the base flow or low flow. Base flow are usually said to be assured flow in the channel, while direct runoff will be produced when there is some storm or rainfall activity over there. So we have to separate them. One purpose for separation is separation of the hydrograph so that we can make a unit hydrograph. We have to make a unit hydrograph from observed hydrographs, and the observed hydrographs usually have both the component base flow and the direct runoff, both are part of this. So if in this previous figure over here, so it contains both things. So this is simply a hydrograph. The lower part is the base flow, the upper part is the direct runoff. So there are different methods, and you have been informed about this method in the lab part also. Just repetition: straight line method, base length method, and concave method. These are the three main methods. And in the straight line method, we assume that base flow has a certain value, usually from the start of the direct runoff, where from the shape of the hydrograph we select by our judgment from where the direct runoff have started. Usually if there is a receding curve and when it start increasing, then we say that okay, so this lowest part is the base flow. So we select a base flow value and we say that this is a constant base flow, and we separate the upper part from the lower part by subtraction of the total hydrograph ordinate from that base flow value. So constant discharge method or horizontal line method is easy method and used, but maybe not more accurate. So second method, they are described over here also. In horizontal line method, fixed base discharge, a horizontal line is drawn from point of rise of the hydrograph. Point of the rise of the hydrograph, if I show it over here, this is the receding limb. Over here, this is the receding limb. So in the hydrograph, we see the receding limb when it starts rising up. So that is the point of rise. So this B point is the point of rise. So this value is usually selected as the base flow, and a constant base flow line is drawn over here. Wherever it joins over here, we say anything above this line is the direct runoff, anything below this line is the base flow. So that is one method, straight line method, or sometimes we call it horizontal line method. In inclined line method, an inclined line is drawn by joining 2 points. That is where direct runoff starts and where direct runoff ends. So we select 2 points from the start to the end of the direct runoff, and that line need not to be a horizontal line, but usually it is a straight line. So most of the time it is a straight inclined line. So that's why it is called inclined line method or inclined method. So how do we select the start point? DRO is supposed, direct runoff is supposed to cease end days from the peak discharge. So the end date is selected by this formula. We calculate number of days, n is equal to k times watershed area power 0.2. So n is in days, a is in watershed area. Either it can be miles square or it can be in kilometers square. If it is in miles square, then k value is taken as 1. If it is in area is in kilometers square, then k value is taken as 0.8. So let us assume that it is in miles square, watershed area is miles square. So then simple formula is n is equal to a power 0.2 because k is equal to 1. So area in miles square, then we will be getting n as number of days after which, after the peak time, after the peak discharge occur, number of days after which direct runoff will cease, direct runoff will finish. So that point will be located. So, and the start point is located in the same way from the start of the rising of the receding limb, from the start of the rising of the hydrograph. So that point B remains same as previously. So that is the start point of the direct runoff, and the end point is selected. From the P point, we calculate N, and N is calculated. So number of days we go ahead. So over here we select wherever is that number of days. So on this second limb, on the recession limb, we select the point after N days from the peaks, from the peak. So if this point is selected, we join a line from B to that point. So let us say that point selected is somewhere here and we give it a name F. So then B to F will be the line which is showing the separation line between base flow and the direct runoff. So anything below the line will be base flow, anything above that line will be DRO, direct runoff. So easy method. So this is more more logical method, because reason is that this base flow is generated by the ground flow. Base flow is generated by the ground flow, and ground flow after the rainfall occurs, ground flow also is recharged. After the rainfall occurs, it is not only the direct runoff which occurs. The base flow, groundwater level is also recharged and gone up. So a little bit higher value should be expected from the base flow when direct runoff stops. In previous method, we assume that base flow is a constant value, but this is more logical that after the rainfall event, which has generated DRO, the base flow should not be same as the previous one, which was after a long dry period. So after the rainfall, usually we have a little bit higher base flow. So there should be an increase in the what we call it base flow flows. Another straight line method is called one was the inclined line method. Another one was fixed base length method. In this method, a line A to B is drawn in the extension of the recession curve, ending at the peak of the hydrograph. So we draw a straight line. So now there will be two lines. Rather than one inclined line, now there will be the two lines. So the first line of the base flow of A to B is drawn as the extension of the recession curve ending at the peak hydrograph. Another line BC is drawn from point B to C, where DRO ceases at a distance n days from the peak. So we will do the same exercise as previously. We will be calculating n value, n days, and we will be marking a point C on the recession limb. We will be marking a point C over here on the recession limb, but we will not be joining the point B with the C directly. Rather, first part of the line will be extension of this line AB as a recession curve up till the time of the peak. Up till the time of the peak, this recession curve will continue. That is more logical, that still the groundwater is not affected by the rainfall, and the base flow continues its previous trend. But then a time comes that the groundwater is affected by the rainfall, and it starts increasing its base flow or releases to the channel. So it continues till the peak, and then it continues to the point C n days after the peak point. So that's also more logical, more better method. And next is similar concept, but instead of drawing the straight lines, we draw a line, a curvilinear line from our experience. We extend the recession curve, and then we join to the recession limb, considering our judgment when the direct runoff will cease. So in concave method, an experienced hydrologist separates the base flow from the DRO with reducing base flow till peak of the hydrograph and increasing base flow till inflection point. Point of inflection we select from where the hydrograph change its curvature, point of point of inflection we select in this. So over here it is convex up. You see this hydrograph is convex on the upper side. Over here hydrograph is convex on the lower side or concave on the upper side. So there will be a point of inflection where the curvature changes from concave to convex or convex to concave. So that point of inflection will be selected by the hydrologist. We will not be calculating now n number of days, although that will be close to this point which you will be selecting or I will be selecting. So we will be selecting by our judgment that this is a point of inflection. Now instead of one side curvature, another side curvature have started, and that point will be selected at the C's of the or the stoppage of the DRO, and base flow will be considered further in the for the further time periods. So we draw a line using the freehand method in the curve manner till the peak, and then we draw a line freely up to the point of inflection of the recession limb. So that these are the few points, and you have carried out this in exercise 5 in the lab manual. So no further discussion about it. If you carried out this example in the lab, and if you have any question, you are welcome to ask. अगर आपके लैब में आपने ये काम किया है और कोई मसला आया है तो मैं हाजिर हूँ, बताओ. So how many with me? 32 are with me and nobody is speaking. How many doing breakfast? Raise your hand. Let me see. नाश्ता कितनों का चल रहा है? सिर्फ एक. चलो, good. सुन भी रहे हो ना? शाहजेब.
जी जी सर.
दोनों काम पैरेलल चल रहे हैं ना? फिर ठीक है. ओके. नाश्ते कर लिया करो, खाई नहीं होते. ओके, बंद करो अपना माइक. शाहजेब माइक बंद करो. Okay. So that was a time for discussion. है किसी का सवाल? Which method you have used in the lab part to separate the direct runoff from the base flow?
Inclined line method use किया था.
Inclined line में दो method है ना, एक है one inclined line, एक है two inclined lines.
सर वहाँ पे तो सिंपल ही था, सर ने सिंपली इंक्लाइन लाइन मेथड का बताया था, 1-2 पार्ट्स का कोई डिस्कशन नहीं हुई ज्यादा.
अच्छा देखो ना
सर स्लोप मेथड,
constant slope वाला, that is the first inclined line, this one. So better than that is go up to the peak value with the one slope, and from the just from the day of the peak, then raise the base flow. More logical. So another method is concave method. Okay, so if we have a separation of the hydrograph have been done, it means for a certain storm of a certain duration, we can calculate how much is the direct runoff, how much is the base flow. So most of our formula gives us, the runoff formula gives us direct runoff. Like SCS curve number method is also giving us the direct runoff. They say that estimate your base flow yourself, because base flow values are a small component of the total runoff. So we assume it if we don't have the hydrographs with us. If we have the hydrographs, we can estimate it from the bottom part of the hydrograph. Unit hydrograph, as it was informed to you last time, it is it's very important thing in hydrology. Unit hydrograph, it is representation of the behavior of the watershed. Unit hydrograph or any hydrograph, it's a representation of the behavior of the watershed. If the watershed is more woody, more forest, it will have different kind of hydrograph. We have told you the factors which affect the hydrograph. Peak will be less, peak will be early, peak will be later. If it has more infiltration capacity, hydrograph will be some different. Its peak will be less, more will be infiltrated. Slopes also do affect the hydrograph. So a unit hydrograph, which is actually a direct runoff hydrograph, DRO, it don't contain the base flow. So it is a direct runoff hydrograph which is generated by a storm having total volume of water, which we say effective rainfall of 1 inch in US customary unit or FPA system. We say it is generated by a storm of 1 inch effective rainfall. Total rainfall we measure with the gauges, with the rain gauge, we measure total rainfall. So for estimation of the unit hydrograph, we don't take the total rainfall. We subtract the losses which will occur in the catchment from due to evaporation, due to infiltration, due to interception by the canopy, things like that, but depression storage. So some part of the total rainfall we subtract. That part of the rainfall which we expect that will reach to the outlet through the direct runoff. So that is called as effective rainfall with respect to hydrographs. This effective rainfall name is used by the agriculture people in another way, by the irrigation people in another way. They say effective rainfall is that rainfall which occurs on the crop when the crop need it. So that water of the rainfall which is reaching to the land, agriculture land, when agriculture land need it. So that so same wording, effective rainfall, but different connotation, different meaning for the different people. So in hydrology, in hydrograph, the effective rainfall is that rainfall which is converted into the direct runoff, which is converted into the, so another name for effective rainfall is excess rainfall. So excess rainfall after losses have occurred. A unit hydrograph is a direct runoff hydrograph resulting or generated from 1 inch of excess rainfall. If this rainfall have occurred, assuming this rainfall have occurred uniformly over the whole basin or catchment at a uniform rate. So unit hydrograph, we are assuming that a uniform rain occurred at the basin and it has the total oh, there is somebody जिसने मुझे म्यूट भी किया. If my slides and my voice is coming to you.
Yes.
वॉइस आ रही है.
तो ये कितनी देर से मैं म्यूट था और कितनी देर से स्लाइड नहीं आ रही थी.
अब अभी हुए म्यूट अचानक ही. अभी यूनिट हाइड्रोग्राफी.
चले मुझे रोक दिया करें, मुझे लगता है कोई हुआ है अभी. ठीक
Yes,
है,
sir, please do to my sir.
ठीक हो गया, इसका मतलब नुकसान नहीं हुआ ज्यादा. Okay. So we were talking about unit hydrograph. So you should be clear about it. You should be able to speak about it in Urdu, Punjabi, in English. You should be clear because this is important concept in hydrology. So unit hydrograph is a direct runoff. पहली चीज तो ये रट्टा लगा लो. It is a direct runoff hydrograph, and it is generated by a storm having excess rainfall or effective rainfall of a unit quantity. Unit quantity is 1 inch in US customary unit, and it is 1 centimeter in SI units. We assume that this rainfall is occurring over the whole basin, and this is occurring in a uniform, because we know hydrograph do change. If the storm duration is different, if the storm is not covering the whole area, if the storm is intensity is different, so hydrograph do change. So they are specifying constraints or condition which are necessary to to designate that this is a unit hydrograph. So that what I told you, shape of the unit hydrograph is a function of the basin characteristics, basin properties, basin characteristics. You should be able to name them now. Basin की characteristics क्या क्या हो सकती हैं? Any name, any characteristic of a basin which affect the hydrograph? बेसन की कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स को बता दो, 2-4 जल्दी जल्दी। आवाज कम है आपकी, जोर से बोलो। वाटरशेड एरिया ठीक है, स्लोप ठीक है, बहुत सारी है।
सर परमेबिलिटी,
परमेबिलिटी हम नहीं यूज करते, वर्ड इनफिल्ट्रेशन यूज करते हैं, या सीपेज यूज करते हैं। सिमिलर कंसेप्ट बट आई हैव अ डिफरेंस। ठीक है, इनफिल्ट्रेशन कैपेसिटी कह दें, इनफिल्ट्रेशन कैपेसिटी। ओके, व्हाट एल्स? और क्या हो सकती है? मैं इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें बता दी हैं आपने, स्लोप, टोटल एरिया, इनफिल्ट्रेशन कैपेसिटी। जो और भी इंपॉर्टेंट है वो नहीं बताई। एससीएस कर्व नंबर में उसका हमने बड़ा शोर मचाया था। बोलो। SCS curve number, if you have to select for a watershed, what information you will need? What do you think? Runoff generated by a 1 kilometer square in Lahore, 1 kilometer square in Lahore will be same as a 1 kilometer square in Cholistan desert? What do you think?
नो सर।
क्या फर्क क्या है दोनों में, लाहौर में और चोलिस्तान में फर्क क्या है? एक तो
इंटेंसिटी आपने,
एक तो स्पेलिंग का फर्क है, तो दूसरा फर्क आप बता दो।
सर लैंड यूज,
एरिया टाइप से मुराद क्या है? वही एरिया की टाइप के सॉइल कवर, जिसको हम कहते हैं लैंड कवर। ठीक है, एक तो सॉइल भी डिफरेंट होगी, हो सकता है वहां ज्यादा सैंडी सॉइल हो या सिल्टी सैंड हो, वो फर्ज क्या सेम है। तो डिफरेंस बिटवीन एन अर्बन एरिया एंड इन रूरल एरिया इज लैंड कवर. Over here the land is being covered with some part of the land is covered with the impervious layers, and some part is covered with maybe pervious layers. So land cover is an important factor which you are not describing. SCS में तो पहला चीज वो ये कहता है what is the land cover, then you will see okay land cover is agricultural land, so curve number is this 4 curve number है for different infiltration capacity of the soil, so that is important. And similarly catchment characteristics में antecedent moisture condition AMC भी आएगा, previous condition क्या है moisture. Concept of hydrograph is based on linear system. When we use hydrograph to assess the direct runoff of a certain area, we assume that the behavior of the catchment can be assumed linear, that one hydrograph, whatever it has generated, another storm of the same duration will generate similar behavior, another storm will behave similar behavior, and we can add them together to get the total output or total runoff of that watershed. So it is incorrect to describe unit hydrograph without specifying duration. So unit hydrograph, whenever somebody tell you this is unit hydrograph, the first question should be tell me what is the storm duration for which this unit hydrograph is effective, for which this unit hydrograph have been made. So we know that the storm duration changes the intensity of the rain, storm duration changes the behavior. So unit hydrograph is made for a particular storm duration. So for a watershed, you should have a hydrograph of 1 hour, a unit hydrograph of 1 hour. You should have, and 1 hour means storm duration, not the base length of the direct runoff hydrograph. Got it? We have two different time definitions we have studied earlier. So when we say this is unit hydrograph of 1 hour storm, so that is a storm duration. The unit hydrograph can have a total duration equal to 23 hours or 10 hours or something else. Okay, so it is necessary to describe unit hydrograph with specifying its storm duration. An XR unit hydrograph. This means this XR mentions the storm duration. For example, we say this is a 3-hour unit hydrograph. It does not mean the base length of the unit hydrograph is 3 hours. It means the storm which have generated this unit hydrograph is 3 hours. So an XR unit hydrograph means a direct runoff hydrograph having 1 inch or a unit rainfall volume. So 1 inch को volume कह रहे हैं. Hopefully you understand that volume can be specified in depth unit, because I have stated these things several times. Volume can be specified in depth unit. How it can be done? For example, if I have got a rainfall in the whole catchment equal to 100 cubic meter, can I convert it into depth unit? Divide it by catchment area. Thanks. So an XR unit hydrograph means a direct runoff hydrograph having 1 inch volume resulting from an XR storm. So this XR is relevant to the storm duration. Having a steady intensity. तो उसकी intensity क्या बन जाएगी? If total volume is 1 inch and storm duration is XR, so intensity will be 1 over X inches of the rainfall per hour. So intensity is the rate of the rainfall. Intensity is the rate of. So if I have a unit hydrograph of 1 hour, it will be having 1 inch volume of the rainfall in 1 hour. If I have a unit hydrograph of 3 hours storm duration, it will have 1 inch rainfall volume in 3 hours. So it means that 3-hour unit hydrograph will having same volume as 1 hour unit hydrograph, 1 inch, 1 inch. So rate of rainfall will be less in longer duration, and rate of the rainfall or intensity of the rainfall is taken as larger in smaller duration storms. So that concept should be kept in mind. Don't think that when we take the larger duration storm duration, then we should increase the rainfall volume also. So rainfall volume should be 1 inches, whatever may be the storm duration. Although actually when rainfall will be occurring for 3 hours, maybe it is giving you total volume of more value. It is giving you 10 inches rainfall. So when making the unit hydrograph, we will be dividing it to normalize it to 1 inch rainfall. So that is, this will help, this will be required in the later part. Rainfall excess rainfall is defined over here again, is that part of the rainfall that, kya hua usse? Bada kyun nahi ja raha? So that becomes direct overland runoff to the streams. Direct oblique overland runoff to the stream. Okay, application of the unit hydrograph, where we use it. This unit hydrograph, because this is the representation of the behavior of the catchment. So if we have a unit hydrograph made by somebody for the storm duration in which I am interested, so then that unit hydrograph is used to calculate the direct runoff for an effective rainfall of other values. Direct runoff, unit hydrograph is direct runoff for 1 inch rain. So if I have 10 inch rain, if the peak rain for which I want to estimate the runoff, I want to estimate the flood is other than 1 inch, then I can use unit hydrograph. I will multiply the effective rainfall for which I want to find the DRO with the ordinates of the unit hydrograph, and I will be getting the direct runoff hydrograph of that higher or lower rainfall other than 1 inch. So it is simple. We multiply the ordinates with the rainfall values of the our interest. if it is other than the 1 inch. If it is 1 inch, take unit hydrograph as a direct runoff hydrograph. So that is how we use it. For example, if we have a 3 hours rain event producing 2-inch effective precipitation, so it is other than 1 inch, we will be having runoff rates 2 times of a 3-hour unit hydrograph. So if we have effective rainfall of 2 inches, so unit hydrograph ordinate multiplied by 2, we will be getting the direct runoff hydrograph. Similarly, if we have a 3-hour storms having half an inch net precipitation or effective precipitation, we would be producing runoff rates half of the 3-hour unit. So we multiply whatever is the effective rainfall with the ordinate. So that is its use in practical life. So these are some of the assumptions. Precipitation amount and the intensity is uniform over the entire watershed. Precipitation intensity remains uniform throughout the storm. Base length of the hydrograph, DRO, for a particular catchment resulting from a storm of the given duration is approximately constant. If today we have a storm of 3 hours, after 1 month, another 3 hours storm occur, another 3 hour storm occurs in July, another 3 hour storm occurs sometime other in a year or in some other year, we are assuming that the DRO hydrograph generated by these 3 hour storms will be having the same base length. Actually, they are not. When we draw their DRO, they deviate a little bit depending upon condition in the moisture condition and other thing. So we average out those things. So we say that time base is same. So we assume this thing that the base length of the direct runoff hydrograph is constant for a certain storm duration. So we take 5, 6, 10 different storms of the same duration. We make their DRO and then we average out using our judgment. So that is the base flow. So entire watershed is treated as a single unit. So usually we divide the total watershed, and wherever we have the outlet from at which hydrographs are available, we take that whole as a one catchment. Derivation of the unit hydrograph, these steps we have done. I think I just repeat it in a quick way. To develop unit hydrograph, it is desirable to acquire as many rainfall records as possible for the same duration storm. So first we decide for which duration storm is important for us. So that time of concentration will help you in this way. So for a smaller basin, don't select a larger duration storm. No need. Smaller duration, like the urban catchment, usually we have smaller. So sometimes we need storms of smaller duration, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. But for a larger basin, we need storms of larger duration. So time of concentration, control it. So get as many hydrographs. So when we say to develop a unit hydrograph, acquire as many rainfall records as possible of the same storm duration. This can be obtained from the published data. So Meteorological Department, Pakistan Met Department, are on international scale, WMO, World Meteorological Organization, they have made a database of the meteorological readings. So storm occurring individually, simple storm structure should be selected. Storms having uniform distribution of the rainfall throughout the, so those storms should be taken which cover the whole catchment or which cover the whole basin. Having uniform spatial distribution, try to select those storms which have more or less same distribution over the uniform spatial distribution. That should not be a locally located storm. It should be covering the whole basin. Duration of the rain event should be approximately 10 to 30% of the lag time of the basin. DRO volume should be 0.5 to 1.75 units. So that should be selected, and later on we will be normalizing it. Suitable number of storms should be analyzed to obtain average ordinates. So number of storms should be taken and an average rainfall should be taken out of it. Separation of the component of the hydrograph should be done. So from that storm, then from the observed data, make a hydrograph and then separate it. DRO and base flow should be separated by the method told to you. Then DRO ordinate of each storm should be reduced so that each event represent 1 unit of the DRO. So when we have separated, we have got the DRO hydrograph, direct runoff hydrograph. So normalize it by the rainfall occurred, effective rainfall occurred in that catchment. So that we have to reduce it, or we have to normalize it. Final unit hydrograph of a specific duration can be obtained. So if we have done this exercise for a number of storms of the same duration and we have a little bit deviation, then average it out. Then final unit hydrograph of a specific duration can be obtained by averaging the ordinate of the selected. So that is how you have carried out. This is exercise you have to carry out at home. Determine unit hydrograph ordinates if effective precipitation is 1.4 inch for a storm of 1.5 hour duration. So this is storm of 1.5 hour duration. So it will generate a unit hydrograph for a storm of 1.5 hour duration. And the base flow of the direct runoff can be different from 1. And it will be different. Don't be confused that the base flow should be same as the storm duration. So this is the total runoff hydrograph in the second column. The first column is the time ordinate. So draw it, subtract the base flow. Base flow is given over here, so you don't have to separate it yourself. So base flow is given by the question itself, so that you can calculate DRO from here. Subtraction of these two columns will give you the DRO. So when you have all the direct runoff, so and if it is in Q6, then you have to convert it into the cubic feet, and then you have to convert it into no need to convert it into cubic feet, I think. So this is the direct runoff ordinate you will be getting in Q6 units. So sometime we have in inches, sometime in discharge unit, both can be used. So if you have this in Q6, effective rainfall is given to you. This DRO is being produced by a rainfall of 1.4 inch. We want a DRO for a rainfall of 1 inch. So whatever the DRO is coming to you, divide all the ordinates by 1.4. You will be getting the DRO for 1 inch effective rainfall. So that is the unit hydrograph. That is the definition of the unit hydrograph, the DRO generated by an excess rainfall of 1 inch. So by subtracting this, you will be getting DRO for effective rainfall of 1.4 inch converted for 1 inch. So that is how it can be done in Excel, and that is shown over here in Excel, already done. You have to so I think this which one is over here, I think. Yeah. So this column is the time duration, steps, and F column is the given value of the total runoff. G column contains the values for the base flow as given by the question. Subtraction of this will give you the DRO, and this DRO is because of the effective rainfall of 1.4 inches. So divide it by 1.4 and you will be getting these ordinates. These are the ordinates for unit hydrograph. So that is the outcome of this unit hydrograph. So now this unit hydrograph is written over here. At the 0 time, it had 0. At the first hour, it has 78 Q6 discharge, 328, and so. So it can be drawn over here. For example, I think this one. What is this? इसे ग्राफ नहीं बनाया हुआ अभी तक. This is another question. कहाँ पर बनाया हमने? Okay. So here is the final unit hydrograph ordinates in thick line. So this one. So here is the original hydrograph. If I switch off other columns, you will be able to see it in a good way. I switch off the extra columns, hide. Okay. So now we have, this one is the input, blue one, total runoff. I can generate base flow hydrograph also, this base flow. This line is represented by this column C over here. So difference of the blue and this red line is the direct runoff hydrograph for the effective rainfall of 1.4 inch. Who told me this? Question told me that effective rainfall is 1.4 inch. So we reduce it or we normalize it by the effective rainfall. We divide this by 1.4 in this E column. I have divided it by 1.4. So what we get, the hydrograph that is shown over here. When actual hydrograph had so much value, the DRO has, the unit hydrograph has no. So unit hydrograph has zero value up till this time, and then it has some direct runoff, then some direct runoff, and it ceases over here at this time step, 10.5 hours. So that is the part of the unit hydrograph. Hopefully you can do it easily, and you should do it. Please do it with your hand. In exam, you will have less time. You will not be able to understand if you have not done it by your own hand. Okay, so once you have the unit hydrograph with you, you can use it to calculate the direct runoff for other rainfall. For example, there is a rainfall event. Using the hydrograph developed in the last problem, derive a DRO hydrograph of a storm event as given below. So we have a storm event. Each time is 1.5 hours. So for the first 1.5 hours, 0.7 inch rainfall occurred, next 1.7 inch rainfall, next 1.2 inch rainfall occurred. So that line, we mentioned that in hydrograph method, we assume linear behavior of the catchment. So we assume that this 1.5 hours storm will be having the same behavior as the 1.5 hours unit hydrograph generated for this catchment. So unit hydrograph are catchment specific. If you have developed a unit hydrograph for one catchment, don't simply use that one for other catchment having other basin characteristics. If you can prove that both have the same basin characteristics, then you can use it, but blindly you cannot use it. So we will be generating we will be generating direct runoff because of the storm of 0.7 inches. Storm duration is 1.5 hours. Then we will be generating direct runoff of 1.7 inches. Then we will be generating direct runoff for effective rainfall of 1.2 inches. And we will be adding the ordinates of all these three to get the total outcome of what we call it, the DRO for this catchment. That is done in this example also. Now the other part which I hide previously, so that will help me. So if we have a rainfall of 0.7 inches, so then this will be the DRO hydrograph. Unit hydrograph multiplied by 0.7. Unit hydrograph multiplied by 0.7. So this is telling me the ordinates for the direct runoff because of this 0.7 inch pulse of the rainfall in the first 1.5 hours. So this one. So that is, we can plot them separately, but okay. After 1.5 hours, the rainfall recorded in the next 1.5 hours was 1.7 inches. So this will tell you, and see, it has started from the second time step. So from the second time step, second 1.5 hours. So it is not starting from the first time step. So it started from here. So we are multiplying the ordinates of the unit hydrograph with 1.7, but putting it over here with a lag of 1.5 hours. We are using this unit hydrograph, ordinates, but we are putting it in the next time step. So this one is being calculated from the, So we are thinking that this unit hydrograph has been started from the start of this storm. So in this way, for the third one, we have generated similar way. First unit hydrograph coordinate multiplied by the 1.2 inches rainfall. So when we sum them together, we get the overall direct runoff for the whole basin. So that is shown over here, overall direct runoff hydrograph. So you see it has a total duration of more than 10 hours, although the storm is 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, total 4.5 hours duration. So individual pulses will generate these individual storms. If I hide them, these individual storms, you can see the simple thing. This is a total direct runoff, and here is the unit hydrograph. This is a base flow. This is a DRO for 1.4 inch. This is a hydrograph observed over there for 1.4 inch effective rainfall. So hopefully you are able to do it. You have done it in lab. Please do it in Excel or by hand at your home and submit it in the lab. These two questions after solution. Please submit it. So I take a small break over here, 5-minute break, and I will start the rest part of this lecture. How to convert a unit hydrograph of a certain duration into unit hydrograph of other duration. So we call it conversion of unit hydrograph, and I know that you have done it in lab also, so it will be a good revision for you. Okay, thank you. 5 minutes and come back. Any question? I am stopping the recording also so that the small slides should be there. Small video should be there. Have a question? Okay, 5-minute break for you and me.
क्वेश्चन
जी मैं वेट कर रहा हूँ, बोलो।
सर सिलेबस आप काइंडली बता दीजिए के लिए क्या होगा?
कौन सा सिलेबस बता दूं?
सर मिड टर्म के लिए
ये उस्मान से पूछो।
चलो ठीक हो गया।
ठीक हो गया, ये उस्मान के डोमेन में आएगा सवाल। मीटिंग स्टार्टेड, ये क्या चक्कर है? ओके, आई एम टेकिंग ब्रेक नाउ. See here, you can see who joined late. Sort the data. So this, for example, AH, पता नहीं क्या नाम है, अब्दुल A Harim Rafiq, whatever his name. This person have joined at 8:27. First time. Anis have joined 8:50. So these things will control your marks. We have the full record, when do you join and when do you left. Akib initially joined 8:17. After 8:10 you will be considered late, okay? After 8:10 you are considered late. Mark that NSCR, but I will see how to deal with the latecomers. Okay, let us start. Conversion of the unit hydrograph. Because unit hydrograph is good for one storm duration, so we are lucky if we get the unit hydrograph of the same storm duration for which we want to carry out the flood analysis or direct runoff analysis. So we need it. So hopefully you are seeing the slides, you are seeing, you are getting my voice also. So let me check with you. किससे बोलूं? अभी किसकी एक्सेल फाइल में देख रहा था? AHRWM कौन है? अहरीम? Can you open your mic? Ahreem, AHRWM, आगे रफीकी something. Can you open your mic? नहीं है, नहीं है, नहीं है, नहीं है, अभी भी नहीं है. ये CR, ये कोई स्टूडेंट है हमारा? AH?
यस सर.
क्या नाम बनता है इसे?
सर अहरीमा रफीक.
Ahreema Rafiq, girl student है. If you are listening to me,
Yes.
Ahreema, open your mic. Ahreema Rafiq. No. So इसको निकाल देना, इसके अटेंडेंस निकाल देना. Ahreema Rafiq. ओके, और कौन आ सकता है जिसने लेट ज्वाइन किया? आकिब. आकिब, open your mic. 17, 30, 43.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me why we need to change the unit hydrograph duration? हमें क्यों conversion की क्यों जरूरत है? आकिब.
Yes, sir.
Why we need to convert a unit hydrograph of a certain duration into unit hydrograph of another duration? हमें चाहिए क्यों है ये? Why we are learning this tool? Why we are learning this thing? Conversion of a unit hydrograph. आकिब.
समझ नहीं आ रही आवाज की सही से.
आवाज की समझ नहीं आ रही तो फिर तुम लेक्चर में बैठे क्या कर रहे हो?
सर पहले आ रही थी.
नाश्ता क्या
आप
किया?
दोबारा.
नाश्ता क्या किया?
नाश्ता नहीं किया अभी.
तो यही मसला है ना, क्या घर वाला से नहीं बनी हुई? हाँ जी. आकिब अली. Akib Ali, open your mic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me what we studied today. Tell me what did we study today? Akib. नहीं, आपकी आवाज आ रही है, यहाँ बैठे हो, सही बैठे हो?
सर पहले मैंने बोला था हाइड्रोग्राफ पढ़ा है आज.
ओके, ठीक है, पता चल गया. अब मेरा जो क्वेश्चन है वो ये है कि यूनिट हाइड्रोग्राफ की कन्वर्जन क्यों जरूरत है?
सर वो कैलकुलेशन इजी से हो जाएगी फिर.
किससे हो जाएगी? कैलकुलेशन. कैलकुलेशन तो आप किसी से भी कर सकते हो. कैलकुलेशन ही करनी है ना, 2 जब में 2 ही करना है.
ऐसे यूनिट्स होंगे उसमें करेंगे तो इजी से हो जाएंगे.
अच्छा, ये यूनिट कन्वर्जन कर रहे हैं. यूनिट हाइड्रोग्राफ कन्वर्जन इज द यूनिट कन्वर्जन. आकिब, कुछ मेहनत करो, कुछ पढ़ो.
क्या सर पढ़ूंगा सर.
पढ़ूंगा. अब तो टाइम जो है ना वो एंड पे आ गया.
आपसे स्टार्ट करूंगा.
Okay. Usually we have a unit hydrograph of a certain storm duration, but we are in need of a unit hydrograph of another storm duration. So that is the necessity. That is the necessity. We have a unit hydrograph of a certain storm duration, but we need a unit hydrograph of another storm duration. So then we need the conversion of the unit hydrograph. It is not the conversion of the units, it is conversion of the duration of the unit hydrograph. And duration means storm duration, not the unit hydrograph base length. Okay. We have 2 methods available. One is called as a lagging method, one is called as S-curve method. Lagging method is used when we have to convert a unit hydrograph of a certain duration, which is already with us, into a unit hydrograph of a whole of a duration which is a whole multiple of the original unit hydrograph duration. If a unit hydrograph of 1 hour is given and we want to convert it to unit hydrograph of 3 hour duration, so that is the whole multiple of 1 hour. So multiply by 3. So in this case, we can use a simple method. Lagging method can be used to convert such kind of activity. If the conversion requires conversion to a multiple of the original duration. Lagging procedure is restricted to the multiple of the original durations. We have a unit hydrograph of 3 hours already available with us. For example, we have 3 hours unit hydrograph and we want to convert it into 6 hours or 9 hours or 12 hours, then lagging method will be useful. If I want to convert that 3 hours unit hydrograph into 4 hours, lagging method will not be suitable. One thing. What we do in the lagging method, we assume linear response of the watershed, and we say that we can superimpose or we can sum together. We can superimpose hydrograph which are offset in time and flows are directly, and we can add the DROs of lagged hydrograph into each other. Got it? For example, if I have a unit hydrograph of this one, this shape, I have another unit hydrograph of this shape lagged from each other. So this is starting after this time period. So we can add the response together. So that is what is said over here. It is based on the assumption that linear response of the watershed is not influenced by the previous storm. And the second thing, we can superimpose hydrograph offset in time and flows are additive. We can add DRO generated by one unit hydrograph into DRO generated of another unit hydrograph. So now here are the example. If a hydrograph of 1 hour is given and we want to generate a unit hydrograph. So when we saying hydrograph, it means a unit hydrograph. We are talking about unit. If a unit hydrograph of 1 hour is given and we want to convert it into unit hydrograph of 2 hour duration, we can do it by plotting two 1 hour unit hydrographs with second unit hydrograph 1 hour lag to the previous one. So try to digest it, try to understand it. If we have a unit hydrograph of 1 hour with us, so we can make it into a unit hydrograph of 2 hour duration by plotting this unit hydrograph and another similar unit hydrograph, but lagged from each other by 1 hour. And then add the ordinates of both the unit hydrographs. Whatever the ordinates received are calculated, divided by 2. The result will be the unit hydrograph of 2 hour duration. And similar is example is given over here. If a hydrograph of 1 hour is given and we want to convert it into 3 hours, now plot 3 unit hydrograph of 1 hour lagged by 1 hour to each other. Add their ordinates. Whatever the ordinates come, divided by 3 now. So that will be the unit hydrograph of 3 hours. So this lagging method, so lagging is shown over here. This is the original unit hydrograph. This is the lagged unit hydrograph of the same storm duration. This is the lagged unit hydrograph for 2 hours or 2 time periods. This is the next lag. This is the next lag. When we say plot them together, it means plot these two together. And then we say add the ordinates. Add ordinates means up to here there is only one, so result will be the same addition. So over here there will be the new ordinates will be coming in this part, and whatever the new ordinates comes, divide it by the number of unit hydrographs you have added. If you want to convert 1 hour into 2 hours, so you will be adding 2 unit hydrographs together, but lag from each other by one hour. So when you add them, divide it by 2, you get the unit hydrograph of 2 hours duration. Why we divide by the number of unit hydrographs? Because definition of the unit hydrograph says it should be the DRO which is generated by excess rainfall of 1 inch or 1 centimeter. When we add 2 unit hydrograph, actually we are getting the DRO for 2 inch rain, or if we are adding 3, we are getting DRO of 3 inch rain. So we have to divide it by the 2 or 3, whatever is the matter. Any question into this? Because this will be end over here. Lagging method. Let me see if I have the example done over here. Unit hydrograph estimate conversion. So here is a conversion. Here is a 6-hour unit hydrograph. Is it so? Yeah. Here is a 6-hour unit hydrograph. And keep in mind, when we say 6-hour unit hydrograph, this 6 hours is mentioning to what? Anybody? Is it the base period? Is it the distance of the observed time period, or it is a storm duration? There are 3 possibilities. When we say, so this is a storm duration. This observed duration is something else. They are observing the flow after 24 hours. They can observe flow after 1 hour, after 1 minute. That is another thing. They are observing flow for another time step is possible. They can observe the flows after 6 hours, no problem. So, but storm duration is something else. Observation duration is something else. Total base period of the hydrograph is something else. So when we say a 6-hour unit hydrograph, it means it is generated by a storm of 6 hours. Storm of 6 hours. We want to convert it into what we call it, G28 concept. We want to convert it into a unit hydrograph of 12 hours. This is not with us at the moment. So what is the method in lagging method? Draw it if it is the time duration is different. If it is 24 hours, 48 hours. So by interpolating, draw it into the 6-hour steps duration unit hydrograph. So for example, after 24 hours, it is 4.5, whatever is given over here. But in between, we have filled the gap by a linear interpolation. By linear, so 6 hours, 12 hours. So make a unit hydrograph with a time step of 6 hours. Once we have this one with you, so that is a kind of input. We have 160-hour unit hydrograph from here. So now give it a lag of 6 hours, one step ahead. So lagging is nothing but plotting. 0 will be plotted at the 6 hour, 1.1 will be plotted at 12 hour in this way. So we are giving a lag of 6 hours, and this is a lagged DRO, a lagged unit hydrograph, we can say. Add them together and divide it by the number of unit hydrograph you have done, and add them and divide it by 2. You are getting unit hydrograph of 12 hours. Got it? So this is unit hydrograph of 12 hours with the data at 6-hour intervals. If you want data at 24 hours interval, this is more precise, 6-hour interval data. If you want the data at 6-hour intervals, so just write over here data of after 12 hours, whatever it is on height. So over here 12 hours. So he's selecting up at 24 hour, whatever is the flow, at 48 hour, whatever is the flow. So he's writing over it. So this is the lag method. Simple method. You have to give a lag to unit hydrograph, add the unit hydrographs, divide it by the number of the unit. Hopefully you have done it and no questions. Hopefully no question, but if you have, you are welcome. Second method, which is more stronger method and can be used to convert a unit hydrograph of a certain duration into unit hydrograph of any duration. Need not to be a whole multiple of the first duration. In lag method, there was a necessity that it should be a whole multiple of the original duration. So in this method, we have to construct first a cumulative direct runoff hydrograph. We call it S-curve. Because that hydrograph takes a shape of the S letter. So we say make a S curve first. And S curve is what? S curve is a hydrograph or direct runoff hydrograph that will result from an infinite series of unit runoff increments. Or in another way, S curve of a unit hydrograph of TR duration is constructed by adding together a series of these unit hydrographs, each lagged by this TR duration with respect to preceding one. So S curve, how we construct S curve? We add together a series of unit hydrograph. What does it mean? We have a unit hydrograph of TR duration, this one. And TR duration is, let us say, is this one. These two lines represent TR. Got it? So we have a series of such unit hydrograph, our direct runoff hydrograph. We lag them from each other by TR duration, and we add their ordinates and we get the curve we call S curve. These lagged hydrograph are actually representing the continuous rainfall in this basin. And when we have a continuous rainfall of very large duration, then the hydrograph shape becomes stagnant, and effect of next hydrograph is being compensated by the reduction of the first hydrograph and then next hydrograph. So when new hydrograph is adding into it, the previous hydrograph effect is vanishing, is gone. So that's why it becomes saturated, or it becomes stagnant at a certain level. So at this point, whatever is the rainfall coming to the catchment, that is reaching to the outlet. So any further continuation of the rainfall does not increase the runoff at the outlet. So this S curve, how to construct it and what is the S curve? It is the hydrograph that would be resulting from an infinite series of unit runoff increments, and we can construct it by a series of unit hydrograph lagged by the duration of the storm, and we add them together and we get S curve. So in this method, first we have to construct S curve. When we have an S curve of a certain unit hydrograph, then next step is a maximum discharge of S hydrograph occurs at time drs that is less than the time base of the, so that's another information. Once we have the S curve for a unit hydrograph of D duration, for example, this one, then now we have to give it a shift of T duration. So give it a lag of T duration, make an S curve with a lag of T duration. T is the duration for which we want to make a unit hydrograph. T is the storm duration for which we are looking the unit hydrograph. We have a unit hydrograph of D duration already with us. From that unit hydrograph, we have made an S curve. Now from this S curve, make the same S curve, but give it a lag of T duration. And T is the duration for which we want to make the new unit hydrograph. Then subtract these two ordinates of these two S curves, which are lagged by T duration, and multiply it with the ratio D over T. The result will be the unit hydrograph of T duration. Result will be unit hydrograph of T duration. So first we make S curve, we make another S curve lagged by TRs, T duration, subtract them together and multiply it with the D and divide it by T. So that is the procedure, and that is written over here. The resultant is a unit hydrograph of T duration. Original unit hydrograph was of D duration. So this has been done in the lab, hopefully also, and this problem also you should solve and submit. And this is done over here. कहाँ पे किया हुआ ये? I think this is that problem. We have a unit hydrograph of 2 hours duration, and the time interval of observation is 1 hour. Unit hydrograph 2R is given, form or construct a unit hydrograph of 3Rs. So because this is not the whole multiple of 2Rs, it is 1.5 into 2, so we cannot use lagging method. So S-curve is a compulsion over here. So make a S-curve for this. How we can make it? Make a unit hydrograph, a series of unit hydrograph, but lagged by this 2R duration, lagged by this 2R duration. So this is a lagged unit hydrograph. This is the original, this is the first lag, this is the second lag, and so on. You should have a series of them. You add them together. This is a cumulative, and you add them together, and you get DRO of all these unit hydrograph, cumulative effect of all these unit hydrograph, and we call this as a S-curve. So this is S-curve of 2R unit hydrograph. Give it a lag, to convert it into 3Rs unit hydrograph, give it a lag of 3Rs. So now these three parts are left empty, and we are writing these ordinates over here, 100 over here. So this is the lagged S-curve. Add them, subtract them together, 0 minus 0, 100, subtract them together and multiply it with the factor D over T. Now factor D over T is, D is 2Rs, T is 3Rs, it is 0.667. So subtract them and multiply by the 0.667. So you will be getting unit hydrograph of 3Rs duration. So that is the new unit hydrograph. This is the original unit hydrograph. So in this way we can convert them. So if you have any question, please welcome. So that is the end of today, this part, hydrographs. What we have learned is the factors affecting the hydrographs. What we have learned is method of separation of the hydrograph. What we have learned is how to make a unit hydrograph. What we have learned is how to convert a unit hydrograph. So in the previous lecture and in the current lecture. So I stop it over here, and I am starting a new part so that we can finish it in a timely manner. क्या start करना है? Hydrology lectures after midterm. Flood estimation. So flood studies are important in our practical life. Most of people are interested. Tell me if I am investing on this place for making a factory, for making a bridge, for making a dam, for making an urban society. So tell me the level of flooding possible over here. So the flood studies have to be carried out, and this will inform you what is the importance of this study, why we need it, what reasons can cause the flooding, and how to estimate the floods. So flood is a special kind of flow. Flood is a kind of flow, but it is a special kind of flow. When flow levels exceed the capacity of the main channel, then we say flow is converted into the flood. So flood is nothing but it is a high stage in the river. Stage means water levels in the channel. So it is a high stage in river which causes overbank flow. What we call overbank flow? In compound channel in the main rivers. So flood is related to the rivers, not with the canal. So flooding can be riverine flooding, which is caused by the overflow of the rivers. But another kind of flood, which we are not talking today, that is the urban flooding. In Lahore, usually Ravi is not flowing to overbank flows, but sometimes we see water is standing in the cities. So that is another kind of flooding. We say urban flooding, or another name for that is, I think, pluvial flooding. So one is riverine flooding. That is what we are talking about over here. When the river stage level increases and it becomes more than the full capacity, or it overbanks, it flows over the banks of the river, then that flooding is called as a river flooding. So both are the floods. It can be riverine flood, it can be urban flood. Significance for different kind of structures safety analysis, we have to know flood of which size can reach over here and how much flooding it will cause. So for the assessment of the design flood for a structure, we need to carry out flood study. You are constructing a bridge. You want to find how much flow can pass underneath this bridge, or you want that this bridge should be safe for so much flow. So that so much flow that you have decided is called as the design flow. So for a certain design flow, what will be the level in the river? So that is part of the flood study. What will be that flow quantity? That is also part of the flood study. Usually the design flood is selected based upon the importance of the structure. More importance of the structure, more losses if it can cause because of its breakage or damage, more higher design flood is selected. And there are different ways of selection of the design flood. Sometimes we select the design flood based upon return period, and sometimes we select it upon meteorological events, the maximum possible meteorological events which can occur in the watershed, that we call as probable maximum precipitation PMP, and the flood which is the resultant of that probable maximum precipitation, we call that probable maximum flood PMF. So that we calculate. Sometimes we select design flood based upon the return period of the event, return period of the phenomena, and sometimes we calculate it based upon the probable maximum possible in that area. Similar is in earthquake analysis and building analysis. Sometimes they select the earthquake of a certain return period, and sometimes they select the maximum probable earthquake possible or maximum probable acceleration in this place over there. So these two ways of selecting the design flood are being practiced. Usually for bridges and barrages, we select the return period method, that we will design this bridge for a flood of 50-year return period. Means we will be designing this for a flood which is expected to occur once in 50 years. And if I select 100-year return period, it means I am designing it for that flood which is expected to occur once in 100 years. So usually we don't have the 100-year or 50-year data. So flood frequency analysis help us find floods of higher frequency or higher return period. So that will be informed to you over here. So causes of the floods can be different. It is not always the natural activities. Sometimes the man-made activities also cause the flooding over there. So floods can occur due to different reasons. Excessive rainfall can cause flood. We call it rainfall generated flooding. Sometimes excessive snow melt, but this snow melt does not cause sudden flooding. It will give you sufficient time interval. So snow melt can also. Dam failure causes huge flooding in the riverine area, in the river area. Dam failures or dam breaches, we call them, and a special case of studies are carried out, special kind of studies are carried out in case of design of the dam. They carry out dam break analysis also. So for that, they assume a certain dam failure event, and then they generate the flow out of that broken dam, and then they route it downstream side to know how much flooding will be caused. Sometimes flooding do occur because of the landslide outburst. If a landslide has caused sometimes landslide stop the river water, and river upstream becomes like a reservoir, and when that reservoir water level rises and it overflows that landslide part, then landslide is broken and eroded, and then flood occurs on the downstream side. Sometimes this glacial lake outburst flood occur GLOF. These GLOF are becoming more and more frequent event in present day climate change scenarios. Climate change is increasing the temperature, and those reservoirs which have generated because of glaciers glacier have stopped the flows in a certain part of the river, and when temperature rises, that glacier or that snow melts and a dam break like event occurs, and high flood can cause on the downstream side. These are further explained over here. Excessive rainfall can cause flood, high intensity rainfall, large runoff generated from these. Generally in tropical regions, such kind of excessive rainfall runoff event occur and they cause the flooding. Snow melt in summers, when increase in temperature causes snow melt, then flows are high, and at some place the river bank or river capacity is breached, river capacity is reached, and the flow start overflowing the bank of the river. So we say flooding have occurred, and in that case, reason was the snow melt, excessive snow melt. Slope of this rising hydrograph is milder, it is not steep, so we get sufficient time. So it happens in days to reach to the peak flows. So here is the event of the dam break is shown you on the right hand side. There is a dam, and I think this was a dam known as a Teton dams in USA. In 70s, this was broken, I think. Initially piping start. Piping means seepage through the body of the dam. And when seepage occurs, if that seepage is of sufficient high quantity, it also takes along with it the particles of the dam body. And if it is not checked, if it is not stopped, it continues and a hole is generated in the body of the dam. And that also continues to enlarge, and finally it becomes so large that the body of the dam collapses down and a huge flood is generated downstream side. All around the world, most than 2,000 dams have failed. A large quantity of the water rushes. So this is one of the catastrophic event or very damaging event which occurs, and we have to design the dam so that it should not flood. And we should also be ready for such event because our knowledge is not perfect, and sometimes there are construction deficiencies are also there. Both can cause a dam failure can occur, and we should be ready for that through already done dam break studies. 70% of all dam failure in the world are due to overtopping floods. So it can breach because of the overtopping. When the hydrologists have calculated wrong design flood, then the dam engineer will be designing outlet or the spillways of wrong size or smaller size. When spillway or outlet capacities are less than actual flow in the reservoir or in the dam, then reservoir level will continue to rise. And if reservoir level increases above the crest level of the dam, then overflow will start. So that is called as overtopping dam breach event. When overflow starts, then this dam body, which is, if it is made of earth and rock filled dam, and it's not made of concrete, if it is earthen dams, so then it cannot withstand the overflowing water. The erosion is so high that it starts erosion on the downstream slope of the dam, and that the dam body starts being cut from the overflowing water, and opening is usually created in the dam body that works like a weir, and flow starts overflowing it, and it increase, and the huge flood can be resulted because of this. Dam can occur because of landslide outburst. Sometimes the steep slope hills or mountains on the sides of the river, they give way or they are failed because of different reasons, because of the earthquake or because of the huge rainfall activity which seep down into the soil, and the shear stress of the soil is reduced, and the whole mass of the land is moved into the path of the river. Originally, this river was flowing. A huge mass has been flown down into the path of the river, and it has obstructed the path of the river. When a path of the river is obstructed by the land mass or land body, so then it becomes like a reservoir. One example of such a reservoir because of the landslide is famous in Pakistan, is we call it Atabad Lake. So in Gilgit area, in Hunza area over there, I think in Hunza River has been blocked by a landslide near the village of Atabad, and it is still present over there, and a huge reservoir has been created. It is still not being breached. But if most of these landslide made dams, they give way within a 1 year. In the next summer season, when reservoir level rises and water start flowing over it, that landslide is broken and a huge flood do occur on the downstream side. So that Atabad Lake is an example of this, but it has not yet caused flooding downstream. It is more stable and it is not being, but at other places, these landslides are not so stable and they give way. So that is one of the reason of the floods, landslide made dams and then breaking of those dams. Sometimes glaciers, they also stop the water and they make a reservoir. And when that glacier melts, then the flooding occur. We call it as a glacier lake outburst flood. Lake was made by a glacier, and when that glacier was melted, then an outburst flood, a huge flood occurred downstream side. So glacier lake can be made by two ways. One is some of the broken parts of the main glacier, they in a confluence in a constructed area, they stop over here and they make a reservoir on the upstream side. When this part of the glacier will be melted, a flood will be generated downstream. Another way of this kind of glacier lakes are a side glacier come into the way of the another glacier or another river, side glacier. Because of the activity, because of the movement of this glacier, it can stop the passage of the another river, main river, and it can make a reservoir upstream side. And whenever this glacier will be melted, or whenever this glacier will give way, a flood will occur on the downstream side, can damage the people living on the banks of the river and the agriculture area. So these are some of the reasons of flooding. And here are some of the methods which can be used for estimation of the flood flows or flood values. From the past flood marks, we can see how much is the flooding, historically how much flooding occurred. The historical data can help us estimate how much is the future flooding possible. So sometimes we have the data of the flows recorded in a river, and sometimes we don't have the data of the flows. So if we don't have the data of the flow, then we go to the region and we ask people or we see the flood marks. So that is called as estimating the flood from the past flood marks. For example, these are shown over here, past flood. Some department have recorded them in a good way. They have written the flood levels on the pole of electric pole or some wooden trees over there, permanent wooden trees over there. Some people have marked the previous floods on the columns of the bridges in that area. Some people have marked the floods on important structures which are not prone to damages. For example, the right-hand side figure is the entrance of a church in England, and they are keeping a permanent record of the floods in that area. Highest flood recorded by in 78 up to this real level. So these flood marks are quite important information. If you have the flood mark with you and you have the cross-sectional area with you, you can have the idea of the flow area. Flow area, if it is with you, and the perimeter is also you can calculate. And if you know the slope of the channel and you see what is the suitable Manning's-N, you can estimate the velocity of that flood or flow. And from the velocity multiplied by area, you can estimate the flow or the flood value which can reach to these levels. So that is an back engineering. From the flood marks, you calculate back and you calculate the discharge. If this is used, if you have no recorded flows over there, you have only the flood marks. Sometimes such kind of flood marks are not there. This is important, and most of the time it will happen. These flood marks are also not recorded by the local people. Then you have to visit in the area and ask the people with the higher ages, 60s plus people, ask them in your known history, in your lifetime, what was the maximum level of flood in that area. So they have such memories with them that in that year, in the year of independence of Pakistan, they will tell like that. When I was 10-year-old, water reached to my house up to this level. So use that as a evidence and then calculate back the flow or the flood occurred in that area. So previous record is important to estimate how much flood can occur in the new year. So from here we will start it in the next class. I stop it over here. So up till now, if you have any question, you are welcome. So if no questions, then I am stopping the recording. And thank you very much. You are still welcome.